Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is episode 27. I'm your host, Joe Baress, along with my co-host, Joby Fawcett. Joby, how's it going? It's a little windy. You've been busy. There's been some snow. How you holding up?
Well, Joe, we're doing okay. I just now this afternoon completely have been relieved from all the chlorine that was in my system after two very long evenings/afternoons at Scranton High School for the Les Richards Swimming and Diving Championships, and not without the outstanding performances of the great athletes who were there, who we're going to speaking. One of them we're going to be speaking with very shortly, but it was extremely warm inside the natatorium. And Joe, anyone who's had to have extended stays, now the swimmers, they're used to this. The divers, they're used to this. But a guy like me, I can't. I came home and I was lightheaded. I had a migraine starting, and I just couldn't get rid of the chlorine smell in my nose. But once we shook that free a little bit, we had the outstanding and exciting boys Division II basketball game yesterday at Carbondale area, Joe. Boy,
yeah,
brought back a lot of great memories of really intense battles between two outstanding teams, and a lot of fun at the renovated Carbondale area gymnasium, which has, of course, been home to so many classic postseason games throughout its history. And it was a lot of fun yesterday. And then we're right back at it today, Joe.
You know it, Joby. You know it. Seriously, it was an exciting weekend, and we have a ton to come over these next few weeks. One of the people who experienced that chlorine over the weekend was Rebecca Oakes, and she was our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, and she's joining us now. Rebecca, how we doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Very good, very good. So what Rebecca did over the weekend, she had 4 gold medals at the Les Richards Championships. She was part of the 200-yard medley and 400-yard free relay teams, leading them to victory. She also won the 50 free in a career best time of 24.75 seconds, also won the 100 fly. To add to that, she had 2 individual wins in the 500 free and 100 back, and was part of 2 winning relays earlier in the week, and a win over Delaware Valley, who finished the season 7-2. So Rebecca, that was a lot of stuff. So to start there, what was this week like for you? You know, reading Joby's story, you said you even surprised yourself. So how great of a week was this for you?
It was a really crazy week. I like the emotions were high basically the entire time, because going into Thursday's dual meet against Del Valle, I was nervous for the meet, and then afterwards I was like, "Oh, we won, yay!" And then we went into Les Richards, which I didn't really feel prepared for going into it, and then it just kind of hit me Friday night, and I was like, "Oh my God, what am I gonna do?" But it was all okay, and I feel good now.
Rebecca, let's talk a little bit about Saturday, because it was a little bit different format because of the concerning weather that hit later on in the evening here in Northeast Pennsylvania with the snow and ice. So they eliminated the preliminary races, and you were able to just run as a final every race. Did that kind of change your mindset and your preparation for what you wanted to do and accomplish, not just as an individual, but as a team at Scranton Prep?
I think that it made a lot of us feel a little bit better, if I'm being honest, because it was going to be a really long day that I don't think any of us were really looking forward to, in terms of the fact that we would probably be there for several hours on end.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also a little bit of a disappointment, because I think that we all kind of felt like we would benefit from kind of that second chance in finals. But I think that we performed well either way. And it was honestly better for me, at least, because I wouldn't really have had much of a break between my 2 individual events if I made finals in both of them. So it would have been difficult.
Yeah, no, Joy, if I could just really quickly. So Rebecca swam the 50 free and the 100 fly, which are back to back in the order of events. And because this was raced as a final, she had the ability to have some heats in between those two races that helped her recover. But let's talk about that 50 free, Rebecca, because you're going up against Elk Lake's Bryn Warrener, who is the defending District 2 champion at that distance. And as you mentioned to me afterward, your coaches had kind of encouraged you and felt, based on your practices and preparation, that you could go sub 25 seconds in the race. And you were able to do that with an incredibly strong finish. Go through that with me. I know it's such a frantic race and technique is important and power is important, but how did you feel after that great performance?
I felt really surprised and just kind of, it took me a while to kind of process it. Like Saturday night, I was staring at my ceiling for a really long time because it was a lot on me. Like during the race, I didn't really feel that strong. I felt like, if anything, it was like a 25 low maybe, but I managed to surprise myself, which was a really great feeling. I was so kind of like in shock after the race that as I was getting out, wasn't really paying attention where I was going. I smacked my elbow on the backstroke thing, which kind of hurt, but it was okay. Because then I went over and celebrated with my coach, and that was a great moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about how did you feel the team did? What did you think of the team's performance at Les Richards?
I was really excited about the team's performance. I tried my best to watch their races, and I was so proud when I saw several of my teammates podium and get medals that they've worked for. Like my friend Sophia Galco got second in the 100 fly, and it was I think a season best time, and I was really happy with that because she was happy with that. And I saw Eva Kashuba, she had a really, really impressive 100 breaststroke time. I watched it and I thought, oh my god, I don't know if I could do that in the 100 fly consistently. Like, it was really impressive.
So, Rebecca, listen, we're getting to the tail end of the season here now, and with the Les Richards Championships behind you, terrific performance in both relays and your two individual events. Now you have the tapering period. What are your plans and your outlook and your workouts kind of geared toward as you get ready for the District 2 championships, which are 2 weeks away?
I think that this week is going to be a lot of kind of an intense, focused work on making sure that my technique and everything is getting up to scratch. And then next week, I think it's going to be a little bit more of smooth sailing into the championship meet, so that we make sure we're rested and ready. I think I'll probably be focusing on a lot of consistent speed work and probably a lot of recovery as well.
Have you selected your two events for the district championships yet?
I'm deciding between three currently. That's the 50 free, 100 fly, and 100 free. I'm not 100% sure which one I'm going to go with yet.
Now, you've been in these big championship meets before, but last year as a freshman, you had an outstanding meet. In your first year, got a chance to go to the state meet. How much is that experience going to help you as you better get yourself ready for your sophomore season here?
I think it's bolstering me a lot because as I went to states and I got kind of crushed, I'm not going to lie, in my individual event. My relay made the B final, which was really awesome, but it really inspired me just being there last year. And now I'm thinking ahead to states, wondering if I can maybe get a medal if I improve enough. So it's been the kind of focus of my work.
Yeah, I want to touch on kind of the mentality. I think you touched on it a little bit, but having such a big weekend, how do you, like, mentally, what do you kind of do to refocus and continue to do well to end this season?
I've been making sure to set kind of clear goals for myself, because I made a lot of my goals over the weekend, like breaking a minute in the 100 fly was a big one that I've been focused on for a really long time. So now I'm trying to set my sights on something new, and just to be able to focus on that for a while, I think is going to help me work towards my new goals and be able to do what I want to do at the districts and state level.
Rebecca, we know you're a terrific swimmer, obviously, based upon your performances the last 2 seasons. I'm interested to find out, how did you get involved in swimming as a young athlete? I know many of the kids I speak to, started at a very young age. What's your background in this sport?
So when I was a really little kid, I was actually a wrestler. I was like 5 years old. I come from a wrestling family, but I kind of hated it because I got beat up a lot because I was a little kid and I didn't want to hurt anyone. So I quit wrestling, and then my mom told me, I was at my brother's wrestling practice. I was like dangling on some workout equipment, and my mom comes over and she says, "Hey, there's like a swim club called Scranton Sea Nights that's got some open slots. You want to see if you want to be a swimmer?" I said, "Sure." And then I did that up until COVID. And then after COVID, things started opening up again. I joined USA club team called Pacers Aquatic Club. We practice over at Marywood. I'm still on it. I do double practices every now and again with prep. And so, yeah, I've been swimming since, I think basically I was 7 when I started, and I basically haven't stopped since. I mean, there was a break for my COVID year, but it's been a really long time. It's been about half my life at this point.
Now, you mentioned the Pacers Aquatics, and what's unique about this Les Richards Championships is that Bethany Cholish is the PA announcer. Okay, so I had the unique opportunity to be seated next to her throughout the course of the meet, and every time a Pacers Aquatic swimmer was doing quite well, she was kind of tapping me on the shoulder. And it's a neat dynamic at the Les Richards where the Pacers Aquatics, even though they represent different schools throughout the Lackawanna League season, they're all really one big family at this event. Rebecca, how neat is that for you when you're at the Les Richards, even though you're competing for your personal gratification and certainly trying to achieve your individual goals, but to see your group of Pacer Aquatic swimmers do so well?
It's really, really awesome to see, because there are a lot of people on Pacers that I admire greatly, and I think that it's really good that they're doing awesome things at the high school level. Like Hadley Paulman I'm so proud of her. Like, she's been going absolutely crazy in the 500 and 200 recently, and it's absolutely blowing my mind. And then there's Roy Lee Ayala and his brother Jordan doing really impressive things, and Leo Cholish, coach's son, he's been doing really great things as well. So it's just really great to see. I feel like there's so many familiar faces. It's awesome to be a part of that atmosphere, because I'll see people from different teams, and I know them as a teammate. So I'll say hi, I'll have a conversation, we'll talk about swim, talk about whatever. And it's really great to feel like I have friends in so many places.
Absolutely. Rebecca, I found some things very interesting about your Athlete of the Week interview. One of them that made me laugh are you talked in the question about superstitions. You said that when you were little, you had trouble with your goggles, they fell off, and now you talk to your goggles. Tell me a little bit about that, and your routine getting ready for a race.
So I always double cap, and I make a goggle sandwich kind of. So I'll take my one cap, I'll put it on, make sure my hair is all tucked in, and I'll put my goggles on top of it, and I'll make sure they're really tight. I'll tighten them up before I put them on, and I'll tighten them up while they're on my head. And I'll put them over my eyes, put my second cap on over it, and then as I'm getting up on the blocks after I've done all my stretching and stuff, I'll press them onto my face really hard so I can feel like the air coming out in between my skin and the goggles. And I'll just say, "Stay on." Please stay on. Sometimes it's very audible. I've gotten some weird looks from my relay teammates before.
Oh, that's so great.
But it works. I think I haven't had a goggle issue in a little while.
No, well, that's interesting, because swimming as fast as you've been swimming, I'd imagine that could be something that would happen quite regularly, because you have really had a terrific season looking at it. Now, we touched on the relays, and you keep mentioning them. You have some really talented teammates. What's the relationship that you all have, especially, you have some really close friends, and that last relay is always so exciting, that 400 free relay. And it was very exciting at the Les Richards with your close finish there. How neat is it for you to be on those relay teams?
It's really cool because like we'll have a kind of almost kind of a different relationship than we had previously on relay team. Like even if you weren't very good friends beforehand, like while you're screaming for your teammate and in such a close race as that, I think it brings us all together a little bit, and I feel a lot more connected with my relay teammates after the relays than I did before. So it's really awesome to get to partake in that.
Yeah, definitely. Rebecca, another thing I found very interesting about your Athlete of the Week interview is you said you're a mac and cheese enthusiast. So tell me a little bit about that. Apparently mac and cheese is making mac and cheese is a fun thing for you guys and your family. Take me through that. What's so great about that for you and your family?
It's like I always like to say, if it don't go down easy, if it ain't cheesy. It's awesome. It's just whenever there's like a holiday lunch or dinner or something for Christmas or Thanksgiving or even Easter, there's always mac and cheese. And I think that's pretty awesome. And sometimes we'll make the boxed stuff, that's also very good. So it just reminds me of being a little kid. Mac and cheese is like the ultimate treat as a child. I really enjoyed it. I still do.
Now, Rebecca, if you and your family ever put together some exotic recipes with mac and cheese, please share them with Joe, because you may not know this. He is a connoisseur of all of the finest foods in Northeast Pennsylvania.
It's true.
That's awesome. You know,
Go ahead.
If I ever come across a really great recipe, I'll share.
Absolutely.
I don't have secrets.
I love it. I appreciate it. Well, then in that case, this goes down as one of our greatest interviews on the podcast. I love
it.
That's incredible. I'm so glad that I'm considered for that.
Yep. Hey, offer me food. You could have said anything today, but I think that just about wraps it up for me, Joby. You got anything else for Rebecca?
Again, I always like to finish up with just congratulating our Athlete of the Week. But Rebecca, it was just such a joy to watch you on Saturday. I got a chance to meet you last year for the first time when you were a freshman. And again, I know you were nervous about the post-meet interview, but you did a great job and really did a great job here today. I look forward to seeing you at the district championships. We want to wish you the best of luck.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
You too.
All right. That was Rebecca. Bye. That was Rebecca Oakes, Scranton Prep swimmer, and our Athlete of the Week, brought to you by the Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute.
Joe, a little known fact about her. I didn't know if she ever wanted me to divulge this, but last year I had learned at the district championships that her closest friends call her RC.
Oh, really?
Yes. Now I still call her Rebecca because it's a professional courtesy.
It's true. RC, like the cola?
I asked her that, and I don't think that's the reason.
Oh, interesting.
I don't recall what she said. I believe it's her first and middle name.
I gotcha. So Joby, did you ever have any superstitions or rituals, anything before, you were in a track meet or you were in a football game?
I could go through a laundry list of superstitions that I had growing up when I was a high school athlete. I was over the top when it came to that sort of thing. I really, kind of weird things. As a football player, former legendary coach Gerry had a very stern rule if you were a Lakeland football player that you had to polish your shoes before each game and wash your shoelaces. So, and we wore white shoes at Lakeland. So it was
oh boy.
Yeah. So, I was always very meticulous. I would bring my cleats home and we would kind of buff them up a little bit, polish them up with the white polish, wash my shoelaces, make sure they were perfect. I would then take my jersey. Back then, Joe, we didn't have the snug fitting jersey, so I used to have to tie my sleeves and with athletic tape, and I would kind of fold everything out and place them in my gym bag very carefully and those sorts of things. I wore the same shirts underneath my uniform. I had an old New York State Police T-shirt, Joe, that my father had brought with him after he had one of his assignments up in New York. And It became a little bit troublesome, though, Joe, when I played against Williamsport, because you don't like to wear a lot of layers underneath your shoulder pads.
I got you.
And it was a extremely cold day when we played against Williamsport. It was, I believe, the official on-field temperature was 13 degrees, and the wind chill factor was below zero. It had been recorded at the time in 1987 as one of the coldest days in history. And we played a football game, and again, you don't want to be too bulky in that situation, so I wore my traditional shirt that I had underneath my shoulder pads, and I just had one other long john type shirt, and it was quite cold for a guy who only played on one side of the ball, Joe.
I believe it.
We didn't have the luxury of heated benches at Williamsport High School that day. But yeah, I had a lot of weird, strange superstitions, and I know athletes do those sorts of things, but I was really over the top. Joe, I could go on and on about some of my more bizarre ones, but I thought that those were two pretty interesting ones that I made sure I did before every football game, just wearing the kind of the same types of things.
Right. It's interesting because, like, you don't actually believe this stuff has like anything to do with it, but it does get you in the right headspace when you keep a routine. It just does. So like, hey, no matter how strange it may be, anything like that, we've all had them. I had one, and yeah, it was, mine was very, very strange. We'd come out for warm-ups, and then when it would hit about 5 minutes, I would go back to the locker room, Joby, and I would just come back out. That was, yeah, it's as dumb as that sounded, but it was just part of a routine. And it's so funny because everyone would always ask me, it's just like, why do you leave at that point? I'm just like, listen, it worked once, and
right.
You just keep doing it. I don't know, but it's funny how those things work out. They really put you in the right headspace. But Joby, we have a lot to get to. That was a great interview with Rebecca.
Joe, Rebecca, tremendous athlete of the week. She was certainly well deserving of that honor. I mean, she was impressive. She said she was shocked by her time in the 50 free, not any more shocked than I was, not because she won the race. Of course, I know she's capable of that, but once you go sub 25, that's a pretty good effort with the ability now to kind of, as we mentioned, taper into the district championships. It's an outstanding race for her. And then she doubled up, as I said, back to back with the 100 fly, and she was even more impressive in that race. And her 2 relays, she was outstanding. Her final 100 free really won the relay for Scranton Prep. She was that impressive. So an honor well deserved for her.
Absolutely. And, there were a ton of great performances last week.
So, the kid, honestly, I often say, listen, 7 hours at the pool, for a guy like me who's aging, it's tough. It's always very loud in the natatorium. I don't know how many swimming events you've been to, Joe, but everything kind of reverberates off the walls.
Yeah.
And it's very warm by the pool. But I will tell you, the athletes make it really worth it for me, because when you watch a kid perform like Rebecca Oakes did, or Jason Casper did, or the young athletes from Tunkhannock on their 3 relays, one group of 4 there set pool and meet record, which by breaking it had stood since I think 2009. Joe, do you realize how long ago that is?
Oh, Jesus.
That's 16 years. That's just incredible to be able to have that kind of a performance. And the diving, Joe, on Friday, now it took an extremely long time. We had 23 divers, each, not all of them, but the majority of them doing 11 dives each. So it made for a very long night.
Yeah.
But the performances by Etain, Horutz, and Etain Starr. Just the athleticism you see in executing these challenging dives. A lot of times, you'll see these kids, they practice, sometimes on trampolines or whatever to kind of get the mechanics of all the things you're trying to do in the air, the somersaults, the twists, pike position, those sorts of things. All elements that I have no idea what they are trying to do when I'm watching the event. I just know I come away pretty impressed that They do it off a 1 meter dive springboard. And I mean, obviously the two winners were terrific, but really, I mean, all three male divers from Abington Heights scored better than 400s, which was incredibly impressive. And again, the girls were outstanding as well. It makes for a very long weekend when you spend all night Friday at the pool and then you come back, quick turnaround, 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday and go till late in the afternoon. But meet director Rick Evans, the coach at Valley View, did a great job of organizing this event. The Scranton School District and its Parents Club hosting, outstanding job. But I can't say enough about the great contributions of the volunteers who came down and helped with the timing of each lane throughout the course of what is an incredibly long day on Saturday. So it was really a team effort by all of those people to put this event on, and a great job by all the athletes.
Yeah, and like you said, Etain Horutz, he secured a meet record with a score of 510.2.
Joey demolished it.
I mean, I was gonna say, it was in like the 400s or something, right? Before
478. Yeah. He demolished it.
Yeah. So, I mean, his fourth career gold medal at the Les Richards Diving Championships, he
was pushed on Friday night. His brother, Ryan Horutz, is a terrific diver in his own right. And he had one of the best nights of his career. And it was interesting because he was complaining of a migraine during the course of the event.
Yeah.
And he just kept executing, and he got better and better with every dive. And Michael White, their teammate at Abington Heights, was in first place through, I want to say, 8 dives or 9 dives. So it got down to the nitty gritty. But look, Etain is a veteran diver. He puts his most difficult dives in the last 3, and it was just, grace in air. It was just incredible to watch him perform. What a great combination of athleticism and strength and power, and really, he was terrific, and he came away with the meet record.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned Etain Starr. She won gold in the girls event out of Delaware Valley.
Joe, she had an unsatisfactory dive late in the meet, and that a lot of times is a recipe for disaster.
Right. I was going to say, what does that do for you?
Well, and she had to get a minimum score at that point, okay, or a maximum score that she can't exceed once she doesn't complete the dive correctly.
Gotcha.
But her effort was there, so she had all the elements. It just wasn't done, properly.
Understood.
If it's a failed dive, they're unable to get all the elements in. Okay. She was also challenged by her teammate, Jessica Wilson, who you may remember, Joe, back from tennis fame. She's an all-region performer in that sport, but she had a good night too. So it was entertaining. It was long. My recommendation to Rick Evans, if he continues as meet director, is we got to cut some of the rounds down a little bit, but great performances by the kids. There's no question about that.
Yeah. What was it, like 250 dives that night? Something like
that.
Well,
Joe, you went to Holy Cross, so you could probably do the math. 23
fair.
Divers for 5 attempts for the first round, and then you get 6 additional dives.
Exactly.
So, you're well in 300 plus dives you sat through, or I sat through, Joe, and how about, just a great performance too by Tunkhannock's River Strauss. I believe he's the Citizens Voice Athlete of the Week, right?
Sure is. Absolutely.
He set a school record and finishing third in the diving.
Set a school record, exactly. And, going up against that talent at Abington Heights, that's a hell of a performance there, obviously.
Yeah, he's the defending District 2 Class 2A champion, Joe. He's a very talented young diver, and I'm almost blowing my own mind here the fact that I'm rattling this information off so quickly.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed, honestly. I'm more impressed with Joby when I'm reading your stories and you're doing like a double pike twists. It's
Joe, full disclosure, these dives do come with explanations.
right, right.
I would have
my
no
head was
clue.
spinning.
Yeah,
like,
I would have
God.
no clue what I get a charge out of. I'm sitting at the scorer's table, and I have no idea. I'm waiting for the official's whistle, and then the cards come up. And I always joke, I have to wait because I don't know if it's a completed dive successfully or not.
Right.
I have no idea. And it's just it's an entertaining night for me. I enjoy it, and I kind of keep tracking the scores, and I get a feel for how who's doing well, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely, Joby. So let's move on to some basketball. We've got a big.
Some basketball.
I don't know how the heck we're gonna keep this as tight as possible. Let me just off the top.
Yep.
Let's just say, I believe there were 5 basketball players who crossed the 1,000 point milestone this week.
2 from the same team.
2 from the same team in the same night. Gerry Rose and Connor McNally both reached the milestone. You also had Jackson Gesford out of Mountain View, Robby Lucas out of Abington Heights, and Giada Costa from Valley View. That's 5 people getting 1,000 points. So,
well, it seems like it's happening more regularly, John. Listen,
yeah.
With the addition of the 3-pointer, it does make it a little bit better or easier to achieve. But I will say this. Now, we've had teams in the past have 2 people exceed 1,000 points in their careers, and that generally happens when you have deep playoff runs each year of your career, and or both athletes have been with the program for 4 years. So it is a great accomplishment at Riverside, but what Gerry Rose and Connor McNally achieved in the same night, exceeding the 1,000 points, as you said, in the regular season finale. But what I would say is more impressive of what these 2 young men have done throughout their careers. They've really helped build Riverside into a district powerhouse. They've won a couple of district championships during their careers. And to me, that's a better credit to what they've been able to accomplish individually. That's just a byproduct of them being with the program for so long and being valuable contributors throughout those deep playoff runs. So congratulations to both of those young men. Certainly, I can remember back, Joe, this is probably even before your time, I believe, teammates Mike Morgan and Gary Beck not only did it together when they were students, those 2, but their dads both achieved 1,000 points when they were in high school together at Riverside. So a lot of connection there. And I believe, Riverside's going to have a couple more players from this team. Now, they're not going to do it this year.
Right.
But Braden Rose is going to have 1,000 points in his career. And if Nico Antonacci continues on his pace, he's going to do it next year.
I was going to say next season. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
I'm just saying. So next year, we could be looking at Braden Rose and Nico Antonacci both going over 1,000 points next year. So 4 out of the 5 starters for Riverside's team this year are going to probably be career 1,000 point scorers in the next 2 years.
It's crazy, Joby. It really is. And, speaking of Riverside, the season went all the way to the end, Joby, before the district playoffs, and Holy Cross and Riverside faced off yesterday at Carbondale area, with Holy Cross pulling out a 3-point victory. Joby, you were there. I guess it was pretty exciting.
Joe, I mentioned when I posted the story on Facebook, and I do this sometimes, but I like to put it out there because I try to be as honest with people as I can. I don't think I did the game justice in any way, shape, or form. We're kind of working on a tight deadline there, but I tried my best to depict in words the incredible atmosphere that playoff game. We don't get that all that often during the course of the regular season. Where 2 big basketball communities come together to support their programs. And what's on the line here, Joe.
Sure.
Anytime we get to a championship game in basketball at the district level, we play those games in the arena.
Right.
So that's such a cavernous space that you don't kind of get the same feel as you get in a Carbondale area Peter Toronis Memorial Gymnasium. And Joe, you're certainly too young to remember that back in the old days, back when I was growing up, when Carbondale area was the best team in the state, that venue was just always rocking. And you could, if you didn't get there an hour and a half to 2 hours before the game, you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
And now they have new bleachers. It's all renovated now, which I thought brought a great new kind of look and feel to the game.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Joe, the energy from the get-go. I got there at the game. It was a 3:00 tip. I got there about 10 after 2. Again, wonderful job by Carbondale area athletic director Larry Gabriel III, helping me out, getting me at the scorer's table. I had very good helpers helping me along with statistics there from the Carbondale area school district and from the Riverside scorekeepers. And Joe, it was just a great atmosphere to be involved in again, just to be able to kind of get that energy and the intensity of the game. You've been in those games, Joe, a member of Holy Cross and Bishop Hannon basketball programs. When two teams are that talented and they are that ready for a championship game, knowing what was on the line, selling out throughout the entire game, it was just a great watch for me, and I'm sure for everybody who was there as a fan.
Absolutely, and Joby, great job with the coverage, not only with the story, but also with your highlights. It really captured the intensity of the games. One of them with Matt Lyons getting like back-to-back blocks, and even the last play of Nico. It looked like Nico Antonacci kind of throwing up a
Connor McNally at one.
It was Connor McNally. Sorry,
yeah.
Connor McNally, and just you feel the intensity of that moment. I'm not saying anything about. I'm not trying to say like what should have been called or not, but you see it on both sides of there was some hard defense being played there, and he ends up falling on the shot. But what I'm trying to get is like you see the emotion of just like how much it meant to Riverside, just like getting up and just being like, oh God, come on, we were so close, or maybe there could have been a call there or anything like that. Again, I'm not trying to start any controversy. I'm just trying to capture the moment of that moment on both sides where you see, it's cliche, but like the joy of victory and the agony of defeat. And we're not even in the district playoffs yet, Joby.
No, this was a playoff for the Division II championship, and it really had a little bit of everything, Joe. We had quick runs by both teams during the course of the game, outstanding defense by both teams. You had, as I mentioned, players selling out for loose balls. Gerry Rose came crashing into the scorer's table at one point and knocked us back. I want to say 3 feet.
Oh my God!
He just hit with all, he hit it with all his full launch, and the drama of Michael Hughes, last year's Division III Player of the Year and All-State player. He missed 2 free throws that kind of gave Riverside an opportunity to tie or win the game on a possession. And then Nico Antonacci, who really, Joe, he put on an incredible display of athleticism, of shooting ability, of an incredible range of shots. I mean, he was launching shots from 23, 24, 25 feet, and they were going down. And he was doing everything he could to kind of help will his team to victory. And his last 3-pointer just a little bit short, and it caroms off the rim. And in making up for those 2 missed free throws, Hughes hustles to the free ball that had caromed all the way out to almost the side out. And he then goes to the free throw line and makes 2 to make it a 3-point game. Just anybody who's not been in that position of having to make 2 free throws in that situation, having been there and missed 2 earlier, does not know the pressure that Michael Hughes was feeling. And he responded like a champion does, and he knocked him down. Yeah, Riverside went down fighting. I mean, Connor McNally got a shot off. It was kind of an awkward situation there. You know, I just kind of let everything play out, and I reported as we see it, and it was what it was, and the shot didn't go, but it was a great game. And Joe, listen, at the very least, I think both teams are projecting or would like to see each other again, because if they do, that'll be in the District 2 Class 3A championship game at the Mohegan Sun Arena.
Yep.
And Joe, I'm not going to lie to you. If that happens, if they get a fourth game, they are going to be projected as two of the best teams in the East bracket.
Yeah.
For the state playoffs. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. We have a lot of basketball to be played between now and next weekend.
Absolutely. That would be extremely exciting, obviously, to see them match up again, but we will see. That's why they play the games, Joby.
That's correct.
You always tell me.
That's right. We take score for a reason.
Exactly. So, there's a lot of district basketball coming our way. You will have a story capsules coming in Tuesday, tomorrow's paper Tuesday. This is Monday. We're recording Monday afternoon at the moment. You will have capsules. You'll have a story. You'll have a Scott Walsh. We'll have the girls basketball capsules for District 2, breaking all that down. And, I know you'll have stuff all week, and we'll be out at games and everything. So, follow along, go online, the Times-Tribune.com/sports. We'll have it all. And, this is really, it's really a great time for all sports, obviously, the district playoffs. So, pick up a paper, go online, and it should be a fun time.
Joe, it's a very intriguing time of the year, and it's hard because we're at that point where clearly the goal here is to win championships. Okay.
Right.
And each time we cover a game now, there is a team that is, of course, extremely happy to be moving on, because that's where we're at.
Right.
And you also have to kind of balance and understand that on the other side, not only is the team having to deal with the loss, but the realization, especially as a senior, that that's the last time you're playing with that group as a team. And I always find that extremely difficult as a sports writer. You have to kind of capture the joy of the team that has won and advanced, and kind of smooth it over a little bit with the team that has been defeated, because it's so much different than the regular season. There is no tomorrow for the teams that get eliminated in the coming weeks here. And there is a finality to it, Joe, when you're a senior.
Absolutely. I love how you do a little Apollo Creed there. There is no tomorrow.
No, there isn't, Joe.
But you're right.
Hey, we talked about this, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit with Jenna Hillebrand from Scranton Prep, when she mentioned that she's probably not going to pursue basketball in college. I was fortunate enough that I had the opportunity to play collegiate football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there wasn't a finality in terms of my athletic career after graduation. However, I no longer was going to be a teammate with the players and classmates who I had grown up with. And I had kind of gone through this journey of not just my senior year, but starting way back in junior football and or freshman football or whatever. And there is just a bit of heartbreak in it when you're at these games and at these facilities during the postseason. So it's a fun time for us.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time, but it's also a time when we realize, hey, these kids, a lot of them, maybe their athletic careers are over.
Exactly. And obviously Joby, there's, like you said, there's always a last game, and, sometimes it ends, when it came to me, I know, cause I believe you were there.
Sure I was.
And,
I didn't console you though, Joe.
No, you didn't. The Holy Cross, we played Emotep Charter in the quarterfinals, and, it was a situation where, it was a tie score, and they won at the buzzer. They had a layup at the buzzer, and just like that, my high school basketball career was over. Well, my basketball career was over. I did not go on to pursue anything except an intramural title, but in college. But
what'd you average on that intramural team?
Oh man, I was a star on that C intramural team. I was probably averaging like 20 a game.
Is that right? You're talking minutes, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, about 20 minutes until I ran out of breath. And,
okay,
had to come out. Yeah, 5-minute intervals, Joby.
So that's when you were able to free up some of your study time in preparation for Professor Walsh's class, right?
Exactly.
Okay. You were able to squeeze in some intramurals.
Exactly. In between classes and assignments in his rigorous sports writing class.
Yeah. Scott Walsh's his syllabus is 3 volumes.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. But yeah, it's like you said, it's never great to be in that locker room on that last day with those seniors. But
I can always gauge it, Joe, by how long it takes for him to come out.
Right. Exactly.
For post-game interview.
Yep. But you need to know, to speak to all the high schoolers, you're always going to look back on this time and smile as much as it may hurt over these next few weeks, or, cherish the excitement of possibly winning a state title.
Listen, I always tell athletes, Joe, the message, I kind of gave it a little bit toward Jenna Hillebrand. Of course, she's got much bigger goals than I ever could imagine. But what I'm saying is sometimes in the pursuit of a goal that I never kind of want to discourage anybody from reaching for the stars. That's what you want to do as an athlete. There's no question about that. But if in the process of reaching for those goals, you don't enjoy the journey, sometimes it takes away from it. And I just, listen, I was there. We could talk sometime in the future, Joe, about the rivalry I had on the track, and I got caught up in it, and I made it something that it shouldn't have been. And you kind of, when you get to the finish line, so to speak, you think back, did I enjoy it? Did I enjoy the run? Did I enjoy what I was able to accomplish? And were all those sacrifices worth it? If you can, at the end, look yourself in the mirror and say everything was, and I did it the right way, then it was worth it.
Right. And just something I found funny about, because I'm sure you've been a part of it too, but you kind of have that last meeting, and then the coach sends away the seniors to talk to the underclassmen, and so when that happened with us, we kind of walked away. We all turned back and laughed and kind of said, yeah, they're talking about how they're going to get back in the gym in 2 weeks. And we just started laughing, knowing our careers were done. Right. we did it, and we don't have to.
You're ushered out pretty quickly.
Exactly. So it's just it's going to be an interesting time. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Joe, all that being said, I enjoy this time of the year for the kids, for the teams, for the coaches. And it's going to be, as you said, a very busy and exciting time. The brackets are all out now. I think the times are finalized. Listen, we change these things every 10 minutes.
Right.
So
exactly.
bear with us the best we can. But yeah, there's going to be some good matchups, I think, early on in the tournament, better than we've had in previous years. And Joe, in our capsules, we're going to pick favorites who we think are the teams to watch.
Yep.
But I think there's several brackets here where, clearly you're going to have Scranton Prep girls are going to be favored. You're going to have Riverside and Holy Cross both favored in Class 3A. You're going to have Old Forge boys as overwhelming favorites in Class 2A boys. But I think in the Hazelton area girls are fantastic. I think they're ranked second or third in the state in Class 6A. I think, but in some of the other brackets, Class 5A boys, I think Pittston area, Crestwood, Abington Heights, all of those teams are viable candidates to win that tournament. I think in boys Class 6A, Scranton, Delaware Valley, Williamsport always likes to throw its hat in the mix in Wilkes-Barre area. So I think there are some tournaments that are going to be open and very competitive.
Absolutely, Joby. And to touch on wrestling too, I do not have the seeds for the district tournaments yet.
You're not slacking, Joe. They're just not released yet.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
Burden on you.
That's fair. So yeah, they're not released yet, but yeah, the district tournaments for boys 2A, 3A, and the girls will be at Wilkes-Barre Area High School on Friday and Saturday. So the postseason will get started for individuals. It's a very busy time in this stretch run, but I'll be very interested to see. You'll have your mainstays. We talked about certain seniors. Brian Hurd out of Abington Heights, one of them. He's going to wrap up his career. I'll be very interested to see, what he can accomplish. He's 5 wins away from Abington's all-time wins record. So, I'll be interested to see with him. The 215-pound weight class out of districts in class 3A for boys is going to be very interesting. You got Piscineria's Brody Spindler, Crestwood's Lincoln Bibla, and they're both state ranked, and Zayden Schock out of Wallen-Paupack was a state qualifier last year and has been ranked in the state at certain points during the season. So that's going to be a fun way to watch, but there's going to be a ton of stuff coming on, and I'll have Tom Fox and I will have breakdowns of each weight class, whether that gets in the paper or is just an online piece. I think we'll try to get it in the paper. It's always fun. It's time consuming, but always kind of fun to put together. We'll also have some features during this week. I had a feature on North Pocono brothers, Joe and Louis Antidormi, who've been instrumental in really helping that program grow. They've been with it since the beginning in the youth when North Pocono returned to the mat after their first stint was from 1971 to 1988, came back with the youth program in 2016 and a high school program in 2019. So that story's out. It ran in Sunday's paper, but I will also have a story on a couple of Western Wayne kids. One, Paul Borowski, I'm writing now, that's going to come out later this week. It's interesting, Joby, because sometimes you just see the record and you see how I basically saw how he improved throughout the season, and how he came back, and some kids he lost to, he beat later in the year, and that's why I wanted to talk to him. And you come to find out that he's one of the top kids in Western Wayne School as far as grade point average goes. And, you find out how much these kids mean to their team. So be very excited for people to read about Paul Borowski, who you're familiar with in football. I'm sure he's a lineman as well after their very strong season. And also Western Wayne's Mia Gifford, one of the top girls wrestlers in the area. Talked to her last week. So I'll be writing something up on her. So yeah, that's what I've got coming. Joby, anything you want to plug?
Being the top grade point average is not something you're extremely familiar with.
No,
you really had to dive in there for some research.
Exactly, Joby, exactly. And I really also want to thank Josh Harrison, the coach of Western Wayne. Just really, he's first of all he's pulling double duty up there with his dad. He's coaching the girls and the boys. So thanks for having me and our photographer Sean McKeague up there, and taking the time to get a really good interview with him and the kids, and some of their practice partners as well. So
you're doing a fantastic job covering the wrestling.
Thank you, Joe.
You touched on Tom Fox.
Absolutely.
He's been in the foxhole, so to speak.
Exactly.
He can start his own little website there with foxhole.
Anything that deals with a fox. There's many options there. So anyway, sorry, I kind of rambled there for a little while.
Joe, listen, you're doing a great job. He's doing a great job. It's going to be a lot of fun for the wrestlers. This is what they sacrifice for all year, this end of the year stuff. And obviously there's berths on the line here to go to Northeast Regionals, and then, furthermore on to state. So these kids are putting it all on the line here, and it's extremely there's a bit of an anticipation part of it
Yeah.
that they're looking forward to, but they can't get too far ahead of themselves because they are long days. They are long days.
Exactly, Joby. And, we may have some weather coming up that may,
Stop
change.
it. Would you please?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't want to hear another bad weather report.
That's true. Now, you know what? I also want to mention this. You kind of maybe remember to say this. Districts this year for boys class 2A and 3A, they're only taking the top 3 in each weight class to regionals. After they shifted there in 3A, they got rid of a regional. And so District 4 ends up in the Northeast Regional, which is where District 2 goes. And they lost a qualifier. And same with 2A, the Northeast Regional at Williamsport is now taking 3 District 2 and 7 District 4 wrestlers. So, it just makes this weekend all the more important, Joby. Obviously. So you got to win that 3rd place match. You can't take anything for granted. So it's going to be an exciting weekend. Joby, anything you want to talk about, plug before we wrap it up here?
No, just kind of follow everything that's going to be going along. We're going to try our very best to keep everybody informed the best we can. And again, bear with us.
Exactly. I think that's the best way to put it, Joby. Yep. Bear with us. Exactly. So
I want to thank Rebecca Oakes again for joining us, Joe. That Athlete of the Week is sponsored, right?
It sure is, by the Lehigh Valley Orthopedic Institute. I want to second that. Thanks so much, Rebecca, for joining us for this episode. Just a fantastic interview, a fantastic athlete, fantastic person. So that should wrap it up here for us. Be sure to follow us at times-tribune.com/sports. Follow Joby on Facebook, Joby Fawcett, the Times-Tribune, his Times-Tribune page. Follow the Times-Tribune Sports on Facebook and on Instagram. We'll try to keep you up to date with everything we got, whether it's highlights and, game stories, features. There's going to be a lot going on this week. We're going to have a lot of good content for you. So absolutely follow along. And Joby, thank you for taking an hour to talk to me.
Yeah, I've got to get right back into crunching out some stories here, Joe, if you don't mind. So
exactly.